Okay, boss. In the last class, we understood about basics of the database, about table, primary key, foreign key, organization, all this. Then we could also understand what is data warehousing and what is BW. Okay. Now we're trying to get into the architecture of SAP BW and understand what kind of objects do we deal with, how does it look like, all this stuff. BW would be a 3-tier architecture. When you look at BW is an application, it would be in 3 different layers, like database layer, application layer and presentation layer. Okay. SAP BW is an application, we know that. It will have programming language, database, OS, and then concept we've seen in the last class. Now say it will be in 3 different layers. It will be having presentation layer, and you'll have application layer, and then database layer. In the database layer, you'll have database. Okay. In the application layer, you'll have all the programs relevant for BW. Okay. You'll have a server with all the services or the programs relevant for SAP BW. And then in the presentation layer, you have users getting you'll have SAP UI5. You'll have SAP UI5 through which you get connected to the server and then start working on it. That's the presentation layer. Say for example, in the presentation layer, you give some command. Let's say create cube and all. Okay. Let's say extract the data ante it triggers some program in the application server which actually does your extraction and gives you the response back saying data is extracted. You just click on in the server in the client saying perform this extraction and all. So you'll have program in the server which actually does the extraction process, puts all the data into the database, and you get a message out saying data is extracted successfully. So the server is responding back to you with all the operation what it does. Clear on this? So whenever you say you have a BW server, it will have database server, it will have database as well as what? Application server. And from the client, in the client system, what do? You install what? SAP GUI software and start getting connected to the server. There could be a case where database and application server are in same system, same server also. Or there could be a case where database is a separate system and application server is a different system also. Okay, boss? This is like a single node architecture. Boss. But let's say they wanted a very big, huge BW server, then what they do? They'll install multi-node architecture. When I say multi-node, they'll have one BW central instance, multiple dialog instances, and all the systems together will contribute one server. Server ante oka system ani kadanna. Server could be anything where my server program is running. Oka system lo server program run chese server aitundi, client program run chese client aitundi. Anni computer le. Okay, boss. So when you look at multi-node architecture, it could be even real time. Let's say you can have one central server and multiple dialog instances surrounding it also. You can have 5 systems together contributing as one server also possible. Because of distributed systems, okay. Possible like that. Yeah. Now we know already this saying SAP BW is a data warehousing application. So by using BW, we'll be able to extract data, do modeling, and then do reporting. Yes, right? So now what is that we have in BW which enables us to do this ETL part and modeling part and reporting part? Okay. Now look at this. What do we have all this? First thing is let's touch about ETL, extraction, transformation and loading. ETL into extraction, transformation and loading this. What SAP BW does is, it does give you adapters or connections through which you can connect to any of the systems. Through which you can get connected to any system. So the application from where you are extracting data, we refer it as source system. For example, let's say I have data in Oracle database. I would like to extract from Oracle database into BW. So we would refer Oracle database as source system for BW. So if I need to extract data from Oracle to BW, do I need to establish a connection between these? That is called, we call it a source system connection. So SAP BW does give you a lot of different connections or adapters through which you can establish a connection to your source systems. Your scenario could be, let's say you want to extract from SAP another product like say ECC to BW. So I need to establish a connection or nothing but source system connection to ECC and then extract. So SAP has given different adapters through which you can get connected to different systems and start extracting the data. Okay, so look at this. We have different connections like this. Automatic, first two options. Okay, automatic create SAP connection, manual. Either it is automatic or manual. We use the first two adapters or connectors when you want to connect to any SAP application to BW. Let's say you want to connect ECC to BW, or you want to connect SAP CRM to BW, SAP APO to BW, let's say SAP HCM to BW, or let's say you want to connect another BW server to this BW server. Let's say you got two BW servers and you want to act one BW server as source system to another BW server, possible. So whenever you want to connect a different SAP application to BW, we use this connections at the top. Either create SAP connection automatic or manual. Okay, boss. And both those two connections will be based on something called RFC, boss. Remote function call. SAP lo RFC san untundi. So there's something called RFC, remote function call. It's like a definition which will have all the server details and login details through which it can log in remotely to that system. Say for example, BW unnamu. BW ni inko system undi SAP ECC ani రెండింటిని కనెక్ట్ చేయాలి. అప్పుడు BW లో నేను ఒక RFC కనెక్షన్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తాను. ఏమని సార్, I'll give all the server details of ECC and the login details of ECC. When I say connect from this, through this RFC connection, it can remotely log into ECC in the backend. So by using these RFC connections, we will create those connections, SAP connections. And we use that SAP connection automatic or manual whenever you want to connect any SAP application to BW. Clear on this? Next is SAP Business Information Warehouse. When do we use this connection? Yeah? Say for example, let's say I have BW servers. In this BW, do we have data containers? Do we store data? Yes, we store data in forms like cube or ODS. We'll see what it is, but cube or ODS first. Let's say in the same BW server, I have cube A and I have cube B. From cube A, I would like to extract and load into cube B. It's a single BW server. ఒకటే BW server లోనే రెండు క్యూబ్లు ఉన్నాయి. క్యూబ్ A, క్యూబ్ B. క్యూబ్ A లో నుంచి క్యూబ్ B లోకి లోడ్ చేయాలి. ఇప్పుడు ఏది సోర్స్ సిస్టమ్ నాకు? క్యూబ్ A is source object. Source system in application in BW. The same BW system is acting as source for the same BW server. It's not a different server. Same BW server is acting as source for the same BW server. That is where we use SAP Business Information Warehouse connection. We call that as myself connection. Okay, boss. In all the scenarios when you work out with data mart, when you load from ODS to cube, cube to cube, cube to ODS, when you're trying to move the data from one place to another place within BW, yeah, within the same server, we use what? This connection, myself connection, where we're indicating the same BW server is acting as source for the BW. Done? Okay. Next, we have another connection called file systems. We use this connection when you want to extract data from flat files. When I say flat file, it could be .csv, .xls is also supported. From 7.3, we are able to extract data from .csv or .xlsx file also, Excel file is also supported. Raw data files can be loaded through this file interface. Clear? Okay. Then next one is DB connector. Database system using DB connector. Database connect. We use this connection when you want to extract data from any of the source which is a certified database by SAP. By using this DB connect connection, you can establish a connection to any of the databases which are certified by SAP. And when you say certified, you see this. Oracle, Informix, SQL Server, DB2, DB4, DB6, it could be also HANA. Now latestly we have some database also added. We also can connect HANA using what? DB connect also. Means we use this DB connect source system connection when you want to extract data from a database. But doesn't mean that you can connect any database. Only SAP certified databases can be connected through what? DB connect. Okay. Next, see all these. Okay. Your SAP file DB, all this will work out with ABAP stack by using ABAP programming. Okay. Then next there's something called UD connectors. SAP UDC, Universal Data Connector, we call this UD connector. Using this UD connect, you can connect any application, whether it is SAP, non-SAP, anything can be connected using UD connector, Universal Data Connector. But this plays on Java stack. This will be worked based on using Java stack ante your BW server will have programs of Java, programs of ABAP, rendu untayi. So when I am leveraging the programs of Java, it means I am using Java stack. If I am using the programs of ABAP, it means I am using what? ABAP stack. Adi concept. ABAP stack, Java stack ante adi point. Okay. No, when you say UD connect, Universal Data Connect, this does use Java stack, and using this it can get connected to any system, whether it is SAP, non-SAP, anything it is, any database. Now look at this, because why? This Universal Data Connector will have multiple options in it. This Universal Data Connector will have multiple adapters within this, like say for example JDBC. What is this? Java database connectivity, which can be used to connect any database in the world. Okay, and we have SAP query. By using this SAP query, I can get connected to any SAP system, whether it is BW, ECC, anything it is. And by using XML, I can extract data from XML, any web services. Okay. By ODB, I can get connected any open database connectivity databases also. So depending on, so by using this Universal Data Connect, I can connect any application, whether it is SAP, non-SAP, any legacy system can be connected with. But only thing is, it is using Java stack. So when it comes to performance with ABAP stack and Java stack, ABAP is more faster when compared to Java stack. So if I am able to connect the same system either with UD connect or DB connect, which one would I prefer? DB connect. First preference would be DB connect. If not, then what? UD connect. Yeah. Then we also have connection like web services, where you can extract data from web services. Let's say I got XML files. I would like to extract from web services. I can also do this web service. Okay. What is web service? Any program which can respond to the request through the browser, like say browser URL, like I've got XML files, or let's say I've got JSON scripting, I can use those web services and extract into BW also. And then Excel system with BAP, let's say there could be a case like this, say I have some system which I'm not able to connect because of some issues. What I can do, I can use some third party ETL tool like Informatica or BODS. So connect the source system to BODS, and BODS will be connected to BW. Or connect the source system to Informatica, and Informatica will be pushing data into what? BW. So when you want to connect some third party ETL tools like your BODS or Informatica or data stage, we use this connection with what? Excel systems with BAP. Clear on this? That's the ultimate. So with this, will I be able to connect any application? In fact, if I'm not able to do anything with the top, I can ultimately go with at least ETL tools and then get it connected to BW also. I'll use some middleware like ETL tool like Informatica or data stage or BODS and connect the source and connect it to BW. So I got different connections or adapters like this given by SAP. So depending on the case by case, we start choosing this. So when you get onto some client starting of the project, once you understand this landscape, you should be in a position to define, okay, so in the landscape we have got these 20 applications, right? So for this application, let's use DB Connect. For this, let's use SAP connection. For this system, let's use UD Connect. For this system, let's use web service. For this system, let's use third party ETL. You should be in a position to decide at least which one to be used. But 100% it will be never a requirement where you create the connections. It will be all done by the basis part where they do it. But at least you should be the one who should tell them, okay, create me an SAP connection, create me a DB connection, create me a UD connection, create me a web service connection, whatever it is. But still we will learn how to create them also. But in real time we don't do that. But when you go to interviews, don't say you have done that. Okay, was fine. So like this, so as part of ETL, for extracting, when you want to get connected to different source systems, we have this different adapters or connections available to connect to the different source systems. Clear on this? Done? Okay. Good. Now once you basically establish a connection, you start triggering the data loads. Means you start extracting data from that particular source systems into BW, right? Now what are the data you bring into BW? You have got to stage it. Means Oracle database data anta connect cheskoni extract chesi malli BW lo pettukovali. I need to store that. So how do I store? Where do I store? So what are the different data containers I have in BW? Okay. Now first thing is there's something called PSA. persistent staging area అని ఒకటి ఉంది. It's like normal database table. It's like normal table. Okay, what is this? What is the importance of it? Ante any data you extract, okay, it first comes into PSA tables, which is a temporary staging area. So what is the importance of it? Ante whatever the data you extract, irrespective of the data quality, data would come into PSA and then sits there. Okay, if we are not happy with the quality of this system, quality of the data, you can still edit your data in PSA. That's the major functionality of PSA. అంటే నువ్వు ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేసినావు అనుకో, సోర్స్లో డేటా ఎట్లుందో అట్లే వచ్చి కూర్చుంటుంది పిఎస్ఏ వితౌట్ ఎనీ మోడిఫికేషన్స్. ఈవెన్ దో ఇఫ్ డేటా ఇస్ ఆఫ్ బ్యాడ్ క్వాలిటీ ఇట్ డజంట్ త్రో ఎనీ ఎర్రర్, ఇట్ డస్ కమ్ అండ్ సిట్ ఇన్ టు PSA table. Okay, but when you're trying to load it to cube or DSO, it does fail, saying this is not valid data or invalid data and kodantund. What we can do, if I can't touch my source, what I can do, I can edit my records in PSA, then upload data back from PSA to what? To target. So can I use PSA for error handling? Can I do editing of data in PSA? Will PSA hold exactly the same data what is coming from source? Yes. And PSA is like normal two-dimensional table, normal database table. Same as a? We'll see that later. But preferably, if I've got source system giving me 10 fields, obviously I'll create this table with 10 columns. Let's say from Oracle database I'm extracting data. Let's say I'm extracting data for 10 columns in it. Obviously I'll create a PSA table with 10 columns in it. That's what you wanted. Really? See, he's saying now, very good. He says, now do I need to create a PSA table for each table I bring in? Yes. Endukante, let's say I've got Oracle database. Now I established a connection to BW. So I would like to extract data from Oracle database to BW. In Oracle database, let's say they've got a lot of tables, not one table. Let's say there's one table for sales order data, there's one table for customer data, there's one table for product data, there's one table for say employees data, there's one table for payroll data. They've got a lot of tables, right? Why will they store data in a lot of tables? Why not in a single table? Normalization. You know, normalize the data would be across multiple tables. Then what I do, let's say I have one table 1, I would like to extract data from this table. Then what you do, in BW we create something called DataSource. We create something called DataSource. This DataSource will have all the details of the source, which table it is, what columns it is, and then you define it and then extract. Okay. So if I've got 10 tables, what I can do, I can just create 10 data sources and then extract. And each data source will extract it from different tables. And for each data source, you will have a PSA table. Each data source will have its own PSA table. That's the concept. Clear? You might ask me a question. Say, I've got 2 tables. Instead of having 2 data sources, can I do like this? I can join the 2 tables, create a view, and then extract data using view? Possible. We can still go about doing that way also. Okay, but ultimately for each set of data you want to extract, you'll model a data source in BW, and for each data source you'll have one PSA table. That's the concept. Okay, let's say you want to extract data from Oracle, and we're extracting some 10 different sets of data. ఒక్కొక్క సెట్ కి each structure వేరే వేరేగా ఉంటుంది. So for each set I'll create one data source and extract the data source, and then for this data source it creates a PSA table. And PSA table will hold exactly the same data what is coming from source. We can do editing in PSA, we can do error handling with PSA. And irrespective of data quality, data will come to PSA and sits in. And PSA is a normal table. And PSA is specific to data source. Any data source unte, anni PSA tables unte. Clear? Done? Okay. So can we do reporting on this PSA tables? No. We cannot do it. It cannot be used for reporting, only for staging or error handling or editing. That's it. Okay. Next. Next we have something. What is here? We have another data container as master database. Any data what comes into BW first comes into PSA. From there it goes into master data or ODS or Q, whatever it is. First PSA crowds in there. Okay. Then there's something called master database. Okay. So what is master database? In BW we have dedicated containers for storing master database. In BW we have dedicated containers until like tables only. We have some dedicated specific kind of tables to store master data in it. Suppose if I'm extracting master data, obviously I'll push into what? Master data tables. If I'm extracting transaction data, I'll push into ODS or cube. That's the concept. Okay, so let's say I'm extracting customer master from Oracle database. What I'll do? First in BW, I'll model my master data tables, then extract the master data, and then load into the tables. Depending on classification of data, if you classify the data as master data, then you'll be loading into what? Master data tables. If you classify that as transaction data, you'll be loading into cube or DS. That's the point. Okay, now good. Next, clear on this? Next. Now we have another data container as ODS bus. We also call it a DSO, operational data store or data store object. Anything you can call it. In latest versions, we are calling it as DSO, data store object bus. Okay. This is also like normal. See, master data is also like table, and ODS is also like normal table. Where is a table like rows and columns, only 2 dimensions, like normal table only bus. But only thing is this ODS will work with overwrite functionality. When I say overwrite, what does it mean? Let's say in Oracle database, I had a sales order with value 5,000. I extract this and load into my ODS bus. So tomorrow the value of this order is changed from 5,000 to let's say 7,000. When I extract that record again, I want to overwrite it or add up bus. Overwrite. So then I'll use ODS bus. ODS is a data container which can hold data and which works with overwrite functionality. And it's like a normal table, so it's a 2-dimensional object. And can we do reporting on ODS? Yes. Can we do reporting on master data? Yes. Okay, boss. Next there's a cube, boss. Okay. Cube is actually multi-dimensional object. Okay. When I say multi-dimensional object, don't you cube bomb undan system level cube you do not get cube. It's all tables only, but the tables are structured in such a way you get the output of a view. Output of view of a like cube-like view. Now you have an object called cube, right? Cube is actually a multi-dimensional object, like where you can slice and dice. It's like cube undi kada cube system level cube etite kanapadadu. In the system we will have it as tables only. The tables will be modeled or joined together in such a way that when I do reporting on it, it does give me a view, cube-like view for me. That's the concept. Multi-dimensional object. Antegani cube cube kanapadadu. So when I say cube, it's a multi-dimensional object. When I say multi-dimensional object, it's like normal tables, and the tables will be joined and forms like a schema. When I say schema, it's a group of tables joined like a schema and provide you view, cube-like view for you, like a multi-dimensional view like for you in the reporting. That is what it's called as multi-dimensional object. So cube will have multi-dimensional modeling in the backend. It will have some set of tables schema formed in the backend which gives you multi-dimensional analysis for you. Okay. That is multi-dimensional object. And cube is additive bus. Let's say you have an order number of 5,000, you load it to cube. If that gets changed to 7,000, if I load it again, what happens? It adds up and becomes 12,000. Wrong. In that case, what should I do? I have to load it to ODS. Then from ODS, I can load. Getting about to cube now, cube is additive bus. Okay. So what we do in these kind of cases, we can use ODS for handling the delta changes. For example, I have got 5,000. I load into ODS, and from ODS I load into cube. Now cube will have what? 5,000. Let's say now in the source it is changed to 7,000. I load this change record to ODS. ODS will go to overwrite as, will it overwrite 7,000 with 5,000? Then ODS will maintain the difference, saying before change it was 5,000, after change it is 7,000. What is the difference? 2,000, right? It only sends 2,000 to the cube. To handle this delta recording changes, we can use ODS in the middle. So what I do, whenever I am extracting transaction data, to handle it on this proper data, I will be loading it to ODS first, and then from ODS I will be loading it to cube. We call that as formulating the complete data flow. My data flow would be what? To extract one set of data, I will have a data source connected to ODS connected to cube. Now when I am looking at loading from ODS to cube, which source system will I use? My self connection. If I am extracting from Oracle to ODS, it is DB connect. If I am extracting from ODS to my cube, then it will be what? My self connection. I am using 2 connections there. So I can formulate a huge complex data flow like that. Okay, boss? Yeah? Did you understand this? So when you look at real time, it's like, say you want to extract some data, right? They just don't extract, load it to one ODS and then leave it, or then load it to cube, and it's not so rough, okay? They use something called layered LSA and layered and scalable architectures. Scenarios ila untayante. నీకు థాట్ వెళ్ళాలి. యూర్ నాట్ డూయింగ్ ఎనీథింగ్ బట్ యూ షుడ్ స్టార్ట్ గెటింగ్ దోస్ థాట్స్. ఓకే, ఎలా అంటే సపోజ్ ఐఎమ్ ఎక్స్ట్రాక్టింగ్ సమ్ సేల్స్ డేటాబేస్, ఇట్స్ హ్యూజ్. ఓకే, instead of holding the complete sales data into one queue, what they try to do is they try to do they scale the data, like scalability or physical partitioning. What they do, okay, they'll take some criteria like year. I'll say in BW let's create one queue, one sales queue for every year. One sales queue for 2010, one sales queue for 2011, one sales queue for 2012, one sales queue for 2013, 14, 15 ఒక్కొక్క year queue పెట్టేసి I'll have one data structure, one data set. I'll have one data source. This data source connected to ODS. From ODS, I'll be loading into 10 cubes. Possible? Yes, possible. That is called scalability. So you would find some clients where they do partitioning of data into multiple cubes based on the time factor like this, or you would also find some clients where they split the database region wise. But let's say I've got operations in North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. Instead of storing all in one cube, what I'll do, I'll have sales data of North America into one cube, Europe into one cube, Asia Pacific into one cube. Then when there's a user who want to do reporting on North America, let him use North America cube. When you want to do reporting on Asia Pacific, let him do Asia Pacific cube. If you want to do reporting on Europe, let him use Europe cube. But if there's some person who want to do global reporting, yeah, so he has to combine data from all these three cubes and then do reporting. So I need then we have got something called multi-provider, virtual object. What this do, this virtually combines all these cubes and then enable you for reporting. So when I run a report on multi-provider, it actually combines data from all the cubes and give it to you. Even a query query by multiple trigger, multiple will split that query into 10 subqueries, execute those 10 subqueries on the 10 cubes, collect the data result set, combines the data result sets and then gives you the front end. So flow ఎలా ఉంటుంది, డేటా సోర్స్, ఓడిఎస్, 10 క్యూబ్స్, దాని మీద మల్టీ ప్రొవైడర్, దాని మీద రిపోర్ట్, అలా పోతుంటుంది రియల్ టైం. ఓకే నంబర్స్. ఇంకా ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే ఇప్పుడు ఇట్లా ఉంటుంది, యూ ఎక్స్ట్రాక్టెడ్ ఫ్రమ్ డేటా సోర్స్, లోడ్ ఇంటూ ఓడిఎస్ 1, ఫ్రమ్ దేర్ టు లోడ్ అనదర్ ఓడిఎస్, ఫ్రమ్ దేర్ టు అనదర్ ఓడిఎస్, ఫ్రమ్ దేర్ టు 10 క్యూబ్స్, అలా ఫ్లో పెద్దగా అవుతుంటుంది. వాట్ దే డూ, అది స్కేలబుల్ అంటే క్యూబుల్ డివైడ్ చేశారు. లేయర్డ్ అంటే వాట్ ఆర్ ద లాజిక్ దే వాంట్ ఇంప్లిమెంట్, దే ఇంప్లిమెంట్ అంటే లేయర్డ్ ఆర్కిటెక్చర్, లేయర్ వైజ్, స్టేజింగ్ లేయర్, ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్ లేయర్, రిపోర్టింగ్ లేయర్, వర్చువలైజేషన్ లేయర్, అట్లా లేయర్స్ పెడతాను. వాట్ ఏమంటే ఫస్ట్ ఓడిఎస్, వాట్ ఎవర్ ఎక్స్ట్రాక్టింగ్, ఐ విల్ నాట్ డూ ఎనీ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్, ఐ విల్ జస్ట్ హోల్డ్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ ది డేటా యాజ్ ఇట్ ఈజ్ అంటారు. దాని ఒకటి కార్పెట్ మెమరీ అంటారు, లేదా దే కాల్ డేటా అక్విజిషన్ లేయర్ అంటారు. అంటే దిస్ ఓడిఎస్ విల్ హ్యావ్ ద సేమ్ డేటా వితౌట్ ఎనీ మోడిఫికేషన్స్. కావాలి ఒక బ్యాకప్ లాగా పెట్టుకుంటాం. దెన్ ఫ్రమ్ లోడింగ్ డేటా ఫ్రమ్ దిస్ ఓడిఎస్ టు అనదర్ ఓడిఎస్, ఐ విల్ డూ ఆల్ మై ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్స్. ETL అంటే ఎక్స్ట్రాక్షన్, ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్ అండ్ లోడింగ్. We'll have some routines where you can do all data massaging or data manipulations to it and then get in. So I call this transformation layer. From there I load into another cubes where I call it data mart layer. Then on those cubes I'll create a multi-provider which I'll call a virtualization layer. Then reporting. They build a layers like this, layered data marts. That is called LSA, layered and scalable architecture. Different layers, scalable across multiple providers also. Any doubt? Check over.
Dividing it into 10 cubes, right? So you will have the same 10 ODS objects there?
Depends. It all depends on what you want. So you want to divide at the initial stage level itself? Yes, you can do. I'll have 10 ODS. From there 10 cubes. Each DSO loading into separate cube. Possible. You get that? It all goes scenario based, but elagana possible tundi. That is what we call layered and scalable architecture, how they build it. So there are some process, how they have to formulate the flow. ఒక స్టడీ ఉంటుంది అన్నట్టు, ఫ్లో ఎలా ఉంటే కరెక్ట్, ఏది మంచిది ఏది చెడ్డది అన్నట్టు స్టడీ ఉంటుంది. దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ దే SAP gives as LSA, but no customer use LSA. What they do, they take that LSA concept, they customize that concept for their requirement, they'll have their own architecture flow and they start building the data warehousing solutions using that architecture. So you get these 4 providers now, yeah. So cube is multidimensional object and very it's additive bus, yeah. So can I do reporting on master database? Can I do reporting on ODS? I can do reporting on cube also. But only thing is, the performance of your reports on ODS is much slower when compared to cube. Cube మీద reporting fast గా ఉంటుంది, ODS మీద కంటే. Yeah. Next, now you extracted, you've done the transformations, you've done the staging into cubes. Now what is next now? Reporting, yeah. So then what happens, SAP BW has got its own set of components for reporting. There is something called BEX under. BW has got a component called Business Explorer, which is BEX for all the reporting components. And BEX has got sub components like Query Designer, Web Analyzer, Report Designer, and WAD, and chala components. Ultimately, any component, it's all about we are designing reports. So, query is what? It's a question what you put onto the database. Yeah. So you basically, by using Query Designer, you design a query, and they can start running the query onto browser, and the query will start reading data from your providers like backend Cube or DSOs or master data, gives you on the reporting. And these reports can be used for decision making process, for analyzing for decision analysis. So they have got reporting in BW also. So ETL, modeling, and then when I say modeling, it's like, say you want to create a cube. Cube ela pedte baaguntundi ani cheppedi modeling. Say I want to design a cube, okay. See how should I structure this cube out so that I get my required analysis. That is what we call it as modeling. Okay. Yeah. Then apart from this, then you have something administration. Like what do you mean by scheduling? Like look at this. Extracting data. Let's say I've got Oracle database as source system connected to my BW, and then I'm loading in. So extracting data from this Oracle database to BW, is it one-time job or regular job? Regular job. So when it is regular, do you do manually every time you load? No, right? So you need to have some scheduling concept. So your BW server has got something called scheduler, which can help you to schedule the data loads in the background. And all the scheduling data loads can be monitored graphically by using something called process chains. See, when you say triggering data, it's not one data load, right? Lots of data loads triggering. So you can just model that as graphical. Mana flow chart ala untundi, and you can trigger those chains. When you trigger this chains with the scheduler, it keeps running in the background. You just have to keep monitoring it. Green, yellow, red. Green ante success, red ante failure, yellow ante running lo undanu. That it shows me more graphical. This is like a process chain. Let's say any set of process you want to do, you start building up all the processes like a chain, connect them like a chain, and then trigger it and schedule it in the background. Okay, boss? Yeah. Next, we also have what? Monitoring capabilities. Now, when the data loads are getting in the backend, we can monitor it and fix the issues. One is about monitoring the data loads, and we can also use monitoring for monitoring the performance also. Like say your query is running in, and let's say you raise my customer raises a ticket saying, "Boss, this query is running slow. Can you do something to do this?" So he raises a ticket, right? I need to monitor the performance of this query, collect the statistics, and then act based on the statistics. I act accordingly. What needs to be done? I come out with analysis. What needs to be done to improve the performance of this query, and then do that, and then improve the performance of the query. Clear on this? Yeah. And then there's some administration. Now, any application must have administration about user authorizations, controlling security, roles, profiles, creating users, authorizations. All this comes as part of what? Administration. Security. Yeah? Then there's something called metadata repositories. You'll have a component called metadata repository, which is maintained by a component called metadata manager. What he does is, for every object you create in BW, let's say cube చేస్తున్నాం, అదొక ఆబ్జెక్ట్, దీని డీటెయిల్స్ అన్నీ మెటాడేటా అంటారు. ఇప్పుడు నువ్వు క్యూబ్ చేసినావన్నా, నీకు క్యూబ్లా కనిపిస్తాను, టేబుల్లా కనిపిస్తాను అనుకో. డస్ ఇట్ స్టోర్ లైక్ టేబుల్ ఇన్ ద బ్యాక్ ఎండ్? లోపల సిస్టంలో టేబుల్ లాగా పెట్టుకుంటుందా? లేదు, పెట్టుకోదు. ఆ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అంతా విడిదీసి పెట్టుకుంటుంది, మళ్ళీ చూపించమంటే అన్ని కలిపేసి మళ్ళీ చూపిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. So there are some standard tables in the backend which does hold all your metadata of your objects. Any object you create, let's say creating a cube, the cube పేరు ఏంది, దాని డిస్క్రిప్షన్ ఏంది, దాని డీటెయిల్స్ ఏంది, అన్నీ ఒకటి ఏదో ఒక సిస్టమ్ టేబుల్స్లో పెట్టుకుంటుంది అన్నమాట, మన సర్వర్ టేబుల్స్లో పెట్టుకుంటుంది. దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ as metadata. Information about every object what you create in BW, whether it is query, workbooks, cube, DSO, master data, InfoObjects, anything you create, it's all will be maintained in the metadata repositories. So it's like repository and server space, where it stores all the details of your objects what you create. Okay, boss? And then when you want to see the definition from those tables, it does read you and give it to you. Okay? And we can use the same repository to make it to create documentation also. In the real time, when you create some objects, you got to create a documentation, right? We can use this metadata repository to create those documents also. Yeah. Okay, boss. Then there's something called open up service and concept in this. Now latestly we call that as open up destination ante extracting data from different source system to BW, we call that as extraction. From BW, if you want to push the data back to some other application, we call it retraction. So by using open up destination, we implement the concept of retraction, where data from BW can be sent out to different applications. BW undi. For example, if you heard about Microsoft undi. He is using BW as a staging layer. He is getting all this and transformation, putting into cubes. But for reporting, he's got his own reporting tool, MicroStrategy, and one own reporting tool. So what it does, from BW, they take data into MicroStrategy and then do dashboards in that. From BW, I need to push the data back again. So that is what we call retraction. When you want to do extract data from BW back again, we use what? Open up destination. In a concept. Clear in this bus?